Hey everybody, looks like we are alive. We made it to yet another Wednesday. It is great to see you. So sorry a little late, but I had to make sure I was able to get all the materials for the course and for this class, and you never want to rush it. Hey Wendy, how are you? How's everything? How's your son feeling? Is he feeling better? I'm praying he's feeling better. Hey John Diekman, how are you, sir? Great to see you all the way from Wisconsin. How's everything? So we got some great Midwest people today. Wendy from the Dallas, Texas area, and Mr. John Diekman all the way from Wisconsin. And Wendy says, oh no, is it the C word? I hope it's not. That's COVID. Because that's going around again. Definitely. Okay, so I have the hair stencils over there. And so what we're going to do is, I'm going to turn on my camera so you can see what we're going to be working on today. Let's see. It's a little bright, so let's calm this down. There we go. Yeah, so we're working on a horizontal today, which is good. Oh, cold. Okay, just a cold. What, we could live with just a cold, right? Let me go ahead and fix this. Fix this camera. Let's see. I want to get the angle correct. Okay. It's a little better. A little bit of a parallax going, but not too bad. And John Diekman says he's pretty good. Last of the rush before peak season. Oh yeah, definitely. So that's going to be really tough for you, huh? During peak season. And let's see. Let me make me smaller. No one needs to see me all that big. There we go. And oh, good news, definitely. Hey Travis, how are you, my friend, all the way from Minnesota? How are you feeling, sir? Great to see you. So cool. I'm so glad you're here. Just trying to get this as bright as possible. And let me see if I can bring in the photo that I'll be working from. So this is something a little different, even a little something different in the airbrush world. So I'm really excited to do this. This is normally what I would do with an oil painting, but I'm actually going to be bringing in something really wild. Let's see. Let's see. Subway Girl. And let's see. Okay, she's going to be in downloads. Alright, so here we go. This is going to be her. And that's who we're going to be painting today. So she's in the subway in New York City, so that's really cool. So I really like this pose. It means a lot to me because I rode the subways every day for 8 years going to art school, and I also went to junior high school, so a total of 10 years riding the subways as a youngster, so that was interesting. And let's see, so oh, peak is easier on you because all IT changes are on hold during, oh, how nice. That's really cool. Hey, Mike Rushing, how are you, my friend? Great to see you. Mike, where are you from? I think I forgot again, but I will. It does sink in, Mike. How are you? I didn't forget you, though. It's great to see you, Mike. So what I want to do first, my friends, is I want to do the eyes, nose, and mouth. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. Let's see. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I just want to make sure that I got it all kind of cut out there. And oh yeah, this is going to be color. I've been doing color for quite some time, but of course we're doing the airbrush underpainting. So not so much because we need it. I like having the large shapes kind of mapped out for me. That's important to me. Let's see. I think that's out right here. And this is definitely glasses territory. Oh yes, definitely, me too. I'm gonna say I think it takes 25 years to learn how to draw, and I think he said a day to learn how to paint. But that's just a hyperbole. He's basically saying that if you can draw, you can paint. And wow, Mike from Decatur, Georgia, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I'm really honored. Thank you, sir. That is such a huge lift and encouragement, and it helps out a lot more than you know, Mike. And I am going to one day, maybe by next week, you'll be on. I'll know Mike from Decatur, definitely. Let's see. So here we are. We just want to line up her eyes, nose, and mouth, and we're going to be working with the detail mixture today. And so, because actually it's a diluted detail mixture, which is really great. Let's move this up. Everything has to just fit, otherwise it just won't add up, you know. So Mike, thank you so much for your friendship and your support, sir. Just, really, 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 I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. You all are just so amazing over the course of the year. I mean, how can I not feel blessed to have you guys and girls? Okay, so here's what we do, guys. We're going to take my Extreme Patriot Arrow, and we're going to do a dilution of the detail mixture. And those are my own India inks, of course. And so what I like to do, I never want the cup too full, right? So we always want to, maybe we'll do 4 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I am going, that's a detail mixture, right? And now I'm going to go ahead and get the water. So this is going to be very much the way that I would oil paint, and doing that with Brad Mummery all the way from Manitoba. How are you, sir? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go ahead and shake that up. So that's 4 and 4, right? 4 drops of water, 4 drops of the detail mixture. All right, so always make sure that your airbrush is working. Have a scrap piece of paper somewhere. Could even be a post-it note, doesn't matter. Just make sure everything's operational. One of the things I always do which is really crucial, is to make sure that the air does, when you press down for air, that your ink or paint doesn't come out. Alright, so let's go ahead and zoom in with the magic of DSLR. There we go. And let's make this happen. Well, we could always use a couple of magnets right on the edge, and then if you don't have that, you can always use the back of a paintbrush or a needle, either or. Ooh, okay. Let's see. So I'm about 4 inches away. The reason being is if I'm any closer, I'm going to get spidering. So I'm hitting and moving, right? Hit and move, because if I stay in that area, it's just going to saturate that area, and then that's where spidering happens. And notice I'm not going too dark. I can always come back later, right? And darken it. So maybe one shot lighter. So this is going to be a color painting, of course, working with the Createx Wicked line. There we go. We're going to let that dry, and let's blow some air. Oh, let's do her nose. Now, just because we have the stencil doesn't mean that everything's going to be in focus the same amount, right? Don't think that, you know, I mean, that you're doing the stencil, everything's going to get the same amount of paint. No, you want to paint, you know, where it's darker with the stencil and where it's lighter with the stencil. So you don't want to just spray it the same, right? And Brad says Wendy can't handle the political climate there anymore. Figure he needs to move to Texas. I think Brad would like Texas. There we go. So I'm going to let that dry, and plus now I don't have the lips in this stencil. I just have the dark spaces between the lips. Now there's just dark spaces, you know. Patty, how are you? All the way from all the way from Illinois. How's everything going over there? How are the trains going, and the wonderful figures that you're doing? Patty does some wonderful model painting, just amazing. Have to say, I really love him. And whenever you do one eye, you have to do the other, of course. And of course the eyebrows. And the dark in the nostrils, that's pretty dark, so we're going to hit that pretty well. But I'm still about 4 inches from the paper. And here we are doing the dark between the eyes. And I'm going to do one more layer on the darkest areas right now, and then we'll lift this up and we'll work on her lips, because I do have a pretty cool stencil that I made just before this class or live stream. This live stream's like a class. Right here we'll do the dark of the nostrils, go a little darker there, right here. There we go. Now let's let this dry. And it's our first pass, right? We're only gonna, getting ready for a craft show. Oh, how's your husband feeling? Is he feeling much better? And is that kind of the challenge? Oh, the theme is Victorian. Now that's wild. I was almost going to do a Victorian theme with this portrait, but I wanted to do a city, urban feel because of all the years I've been traveling back and forth. So that's where we are now. So you see how just getting that really gives me a really nice head start. Don't you guys think? It really does. It's a nice head start. And what I'm going to do is, let's work on her lips. Ow, that hurt. Just hit myself. So I do have this stencil, and it's pretty cool the way it peels back. Let's see. And I do have one that I just cut, and I have to peel that off the mat, and that's going to be her hair only. So the important thing is to make sure that this lines up perfectly. Oh, he's doing better, but still discomfort. Oh, I'm praying he feels better. Definitely. I can see how, I can imagine how that, well, I was married once, and you know, when your spouse is not feeling well, that's rough. That is rough. Kind of takes over your thoughts, you know, you can't really concentrate, right? That's how I felt. So, okay, so what I did was, I connected the upper lip on one side and the bottom lip on the other side so I can do one at a time, right? So her upper lip is much darker than her lower lip, right? So let's go ahead and put a little baby magnet right on the bottom lip so that doesn't move. And then watch this, guys. Oh, the needle kept getting grabbed by the magnet. There we go. Alright, so now just want to make sure this is on line, right? Because if it's not in line, then what's the point? Okay. I think that's good. Alright, everything looks really tight. Hey Mike, how are you, sir? Mike McClung from the Baltimore area. Are you going to paint this and create? Yes, definitely. Wicked paints all the way. Right now, as you know, I always do my airbrush and India ink underpainting. This is going to be a lot of fun. So as you can see, this is quite an undertaking, right? I'm going to be doing all this, you know, bouquet back here, and you know, I'm really going into background. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be creating paintings, full paintings, now until the end of the year. So that's interesting, right, guys? Let's cover the bottom lip. Okay. Now the bottom lip is darker than the upper lip, of course. And this is a nice mid-tone, not as dark as the eyes or anything, but a nice mid-tone. And that's all I gotta do. That's so quick, right? All that preparation just for that, you know? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Patty, very much. And so that's exciting. And then what we'll do, see how the upper lip gets covered? Now this is something that you got to watch out for. I had no stencil on here and I accidentally put a magnet on there. And what that does is it actually, if you have any ink on your magnet, it will go ahead and reposition that, or paint, because I've been working in Createx Wicked for the past 2 months, right? So either way, we don't want to do that. And maybe one more layer. See, I did it again. One more layer of the detail mixture right over this lip here. Always look at your reference, right? You're never off the hook when, you know, by having to look at the reference. Okay, so we'll Make sure not to put this back on our, whoop, make sure we don't put this back on our uncovered paper. Okay, so now we got the upper lip. Now what we have to do is peel back the lower lip, and let's see. Brad, that is so true. That's exactly, if you want to know how I get my references and the deeper parts, then definitely the class is definitely the way to go. Let's see, so right over here, I'm just going to lightly dust because her lips are not white, right? So there we go, just lightly dust them. It's not going to be perfect, but what this is going to do, it's going to give us a nice basis, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. See that? So now we're starting to already get her likeness in, like, what, the first couple of minutes. You don't want to get the likeness. That's another point of why I do this, is that we're not really shooting for likeness, right? We're shooting for something a little deeper than that. Okay, so I have this, the hair only stencil, and I'm going to see if I can pull that up. And I just made this hair only stencil. And what's cool, it doubles as the silhouette of her. So that's good. So I'm going to keep the negatives and the positives, right? So here's a piece of the negative of the hair. And here is the positive. Okay, so that's the hair right there. And then I do have, always save the negatives and the positives. It's so important, right? So make sure you always save. And also the little pieces in between when you're making stencils. Okay, put that over there. Put this over there like that. Okay, we're in business. Let me just get rid of these little shavings here. And let's see. Very cool. So how was everybody's weekend since last Wednesday? Everyone doing okay? Alright, now here we go. Now I am going, so this is my positive. I don't want the positive, but I want the negative of the hair because I want to paint in the hair right now. So let's see, how are we going to do this, you ask? I don't even know yet myself, so let's see. This goes this way. So we're going to use two pieces with this. And what I'm really doing is just getting a tonal mapping out. It's not really helping anything, you know, it really just has to do with, you know, mapping out the edges. And I may revisit this later, you know, with mapping out the edges, of course. Let's see. sure this is perfect. Okay, so we'll just keep this in place. And then of course I'm going to come back in once again with the detail mixture. There we go. And now I do have another piece that I think is important, which is this piece right here, which is her neck, and so it will cover that area, and we'll have some perfect place to show off the hair. So let's make this happen. And once again, always make sure that you don't put any magnets on unprotected paper, because it will ruin your day. And let's see. Wendy says, about to go to your high school reunion. We have one every 5 years. Oh no, as people are passing away. That's sad. That's very sad, actually. And we'll put this over here. Okay, so my whole thing, less of me, more of the reference. There we go. Okay. I'm going to get some water. Okay, now I'm going to get my airbrush glove on. Now, even though I have a hair stencil, doesn't mean I'm just going to go hog wild. I'm still going to be looking at my reference, right? And I'm still making sure that doing the 1 second rule means that unit of measure, as long as you look, that's as long as you can paint. So, and then we want our magnets close to the edge so we don't get underspray. Underspray is not your friend, that's for sure. And Patty says, sorry, gotta go. Hope everyone has a great week. Take care, Patty. Always a pleasure. And I know you're gonna do amazing at that craft fair with the Victorian. I think that's right up your alley. I can see you in the Victorian times. You know, like what is it? Downton Abbey, right? I love that show. Believe it or not, I actually like that show. I do like PBS a lot. You know, my dad was a prisoner of PBS during his life, so that affected me. He loved PBS. We used to always be as kids, oh, it's Dad watching Channel 13 again, you know, but thank God some of that rubbed off on me. So I'm taking the detail mixture, and what I'm doing is making sure that I'm still at 25 psi, right? So that's important. I'm going to take the end of a paintbrush. I'm going to hold this down, but notice I'm still doing my 1 second rule. I'm not just, like I said, I'm not just going to town just because I have this stencil. I'm going to not pay attention to my reference. There we go. So a great documentary on Mark Rothko, the abstract expressionist, from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Wow. So powerful. So sad, you know? He was a great artist. And I'm a classical painter, but that doesn't mean that I can't appreciate a really wonderful abstract expressionist. I mean, he was amazing. And you know, his life was tough financially, and he didn't have an easy go at it, you know, but he stuck with it. And he was a smart guy. He actually got a scholarship to Yale. He didn't stay, but think about how smart you have to be to get a scholarship at Yale. So some people might say, oh, abstract expressionist, they're charlatan. No, he was the real deal, definitely. Mark Rothko is amazing. If you get a chance to see any of his paintings, I really highly recommend it. Of course, me in New York, I'm very blessed to be able to see any artist's work ad nauseum, right? I mean, I could see, I can see Vermeer, I can see Rembrandt, I can see Ingres, anyone's work, Andy Warhol, Frida Kahlo, it's all here. So, you know, even though I can use some magnets so I don't get any kind of underspray. It's not the end of the world, just looks ugly and just takes your work away. It just takes something away from your work, and that's not what you want to do. You know, always go for the low-hanging fruit, right? Things that are easy to grab. And, you know, good magnet use and you know, getting rid of overspray, those are all important things. Overspray and underspray. Yeah, Mike, didn't it? I mean, literally, it was a blur. I mean, I didn't even get a chance to really enjoy it, right? That's how you feel. I usually enjoy September. I didn't even get a chance to. I hope to enjoy October more. Today I was out, I walked 3 miles today. So, that'll keep me in shape, right? It will be Christmas, right? So true. Although I do love the Christmas season. Gives you an excuse to give people stuff, which is nice. There we go. And so, yeah, so you want to look where, so what I'm going to be doing differently is I'm not going to be going too dark in the skin. In the hair I will. And remember, after I do all the work here, I'm actually going to go ahead and shellac. Put shellac on this paper so it'll accept the Create Text Wicked line. That's right. That's so true. Yeah, Wendy, you skipped Thanksgiving. Wendy's probably the one that always has to clean up. Maybe she just subconsciously skipped it. Go. And so I'm just, Mr. Todd, how are you, sir? How's everything going? Is the where the tooth was, is it totally healed, my friend? Are you going to get a cap over there or something? Or are you going to do implant on there, on that spot? And of course, I'm just establishing the hair right now. Yes, gotta have turkey. Okay, looks like I am out of detail mixture. Let's go ahead and put some more in there. So that's good. That means we're painting. Mr. Dwayne, how are you, sir? Great to see you. How's everything? San Luis Obispo. Go Mustangs, not banana slugs. How are the Mustangs doing this year? I gotta check and see how the banana slugs are doing, you know? They seem like a fun team. Anything with banana or slug in the title is funny. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we went ahead. So in the beginning, of course, in anything when I do India ink, I always start off with the detail mixture, 4 drops of detail, 4 drops of water, and then I build to the detail mixture without any kind of dilution. Light mixture, half and half dilution, light mixture, goes straight into medium. That's basically the route we go with this technique. So I'm not going to do too much. I'm just going to map out because I want to do some erasing techniques and everything. So the beginning stages looks really like, Tim, what did you do, right? And that's what you want. You want to start out light, you know? You definitely want to. So we're going to lift this up. Let's see, we'll use this over here. Remember, never put your magnets where there are no stencil or anything, because magnets will always be a little bit dirty. You think maybe you cleaned them, but you know what? There's always one you didn't clean. That's the one that's going to mess up your surface. So let's see. So we're going to lift up a lot of these magnets together. Hey KDU, how are you? Como vai você? How's everything? All the way from Brazil. That is great. And como vai você, of course, is how are you in Portuguese. De onde você é in Brazil? Sao Paulo? Okay, here goes nothing. Now we can see, now we see how we're getting pretty far right now, which is really good. Oh, the Mustangs are 0-2 so far. Oh man, that's a bummer. They got to turn it around, right, Dwayne? That's for sure. And Dwayne, how's the work going? Now, are you doing any more murals? I want to do a mural. Yeah, I guess I gotta wait for a good one. Oh, was John Madden with them? Now he was the coach of the Mustangs? That's incredible. That's a real feather in their cap. Now what we can do is I can start maybe developing some things right now. That might be good. Oh, so thank you so much. I appreciate that, Kedu Ferreira. So, Sao Paulo, that's a beautiful city. You know, when I was living in Orlando a long time ago, we had a lot of Brazilian tourists, And so I learned how to speak Portuguese with them. And Portuguese people are just like some of the coolest people on earth. You guys really are. So I really enjoyed hanging out with you. And Sao Paulo is a real beautiful city. Okay, so now what we can do is I'll make her a little bit bigger. And we're just going to start putting in some detail. Ryan, how are you? How's everything going? Good to see you, sir. All the way from Michigan. So that is so cool. So we got some really cool people in the house. Oh, I went the wrong way. Let me see. A little bit darker. And how is it? You guys see everything really clearly and everything? Ah, very good, Ryan. Very good. And so that's great to hear. Let me zoom in because we're going to start always at the star of the show, right? The star of the show is always her eyes. And then one particular eye more than others. So and you can see how this eye kind of blends right into her hair, like one kind of mass there. Same thing with the eyebrow, goes right into the hair. And be careful not to oversaturate. You know, I could very easily oversaturate this. Now, one of the advantages in the early going and doing your underpainting with the airbrush India inks that are mine, and then so the pencil lines will never be trapped underneath the airbrush right? So you're always going to be able to get rid of your pencil lines at the end when we're ready to come in with the Createx. So that's really good. Now, notice I'm doing the retrorbicularis oculi fat, which is between the eyelid and the eyebrow. But I changed my distance. I was like 1 inch, now about 3 inches away. Now, distance is going to be your biggest friend when airbrushing. Remember that. So that's really important. Dwayne says he was a player from 57 to 58. He didn't fly in a plane because a crash killed a bunch of Mustang. Oh, wow, that really freaked him out, huh? Oh my God, really? That's horrible. Wow, that's terrible. I know, he always took that big bus, right? Well, he got to see America, that's for sure, taking that bus. Now that might be a little too dark underneath the lower eyelid, but we'll just... There we go. So now we have the one eye kind of situated, and let's go on over to the other. Oh, Instagram, definitely. Let's see. So my Instagram, sir, is just Painted Glyphs. And there you'll find me right there, sir. So I'll be glad. I would definitely follow you for the Kedu. Definitely be my honor. And I love to see your work as well. Wow, so that's a really cool story there, Dwayne. Definitely. So very interesting. Okay, so now we go on to the other eye. Now notice when we worked on one eye how that is so much more. So when I go straight to the other eye, I don't finish the eye. I make sure that I bring everything up together, which is really important. Dwayne says no murals planned till spring, doing a fishing boat. Wow. Oh, wow, and a couple of tanks. That's exciting. That's really great. Very cool. Okay. And on to the other eye. And let's zoom in so you can see everybody. There we go. And so next week, so after I do the underpainting, when I come back next week, we're going to start with the Wicked line of Createx, and that's going to be pretty cool. But I always like to have my values kind of mapped out, so when I come in with color, I know exactly what I'm doing. But what's exciting about this is that, you know, this is a fully, like last painting I did, right, was the Persephone. And she's also kind of Persephone because Persephone was kind of forced to live in the underground for 6 months out of the year. And so this is kind of like an urban Persephone, right? She's, if you see her face in the subway, she's kind of like, oh my God, where am I? And that's what I love about this pose. So this is like a full-blown fine art painting that, you know, I plan on exhibiting here in New York. So that'll be cool. And of course, same here, where her eyelashes go, and her eyebrow kind of just falls right into the hair. Alright, so let's see how both eyes are looking. There we go. So you see how fast it really happens, you know? And so that's cool. So very interesting, couple of tanks. So today there was an auto body store. I was taking a walk, an auto body shop, and I asked them, I said, you need an airbrush artist to do anything. They looked at me like I had two heads, like, what is that? And I'm like, okay, never mind. I guess they don't do that here, but it was like ridiculous. If they offered it, you know, it wouldn't be anything off of them. They would just make a profit if they offered it. But, you know, they didn't even want to see my work or anything. They just sort of shot down the idea immediately, like, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh, Mike, have a great night, my friend. Always a pleasure. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow. No, I won't see you. I have an interview. But, say hello to Steve Leahy for me tomorrow at his live stream. I know you go there often, and so that's cool. And thanks for hanging out, Mike. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you coming by on a Wednesday night to hang out with us. Thank you so much. Cool guy. And you see how I'm just kind of sketching? This is exactly how I would sketch with a pencil. No difference, right? I mean, I've been drawing with a pencil a lot longer than I've been doing anything else. So whatever you've done before airbrushing, you're always going to bring it in, right? Wow, Mr. Dwayne with the super chat. Thank you, sir. That is so great. Always appreciate your generosity and your friendship and your great ideas. Thank you so much, my friend. That is such a great thing. Even today when I started late, right? But I had to get all the stencils ready and the line drawing. And you never want to rush that. But thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. And, you know, I just tell you, you guys, you know, coming here and hanging out and, you know, the super chat stickers really, really help so much. And, but, you know, I just want to say thank you so much for that, sir. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your kindness and your generosity, but most of all, I appreciate your friendship, sir. That's the most important thing. And all your expertise. I mean, we learned so much from you, Dwayne. It's unbelievable. And so you see how little by little, I mean, it's not close to looking like her yet, but when I come down here, I'm going to put her face only shield there. And this way I can get a little more forceful. But before I do, the shield's a little off from the drawing, so I'm just going to fix that. Oh yes, Dwayne, this is on paper. But one of these days I'm going to be working on metal, aluminum, and then also on the wood panel. I was kind of in a rush, and I was going to go ahead and work on the masonite today, but I just didn't have enough time to prepare it. Everything kind of ran away from me. But next one, definitely. So right now is a good opportunity to fix any kind of errors or put in any kind of negative shapes, because it's still early, right? Still very early. And so just like last time, this is untreated right now, untreated color line paper by Canson. I'm going to do the underpainting, and then I'll treat it with the shellac, just one coat, and then we'll go and let that dry and get rid of all the pencil lines before I shellac. And then once it's shellacked, it'll accept as many coats as I want to put on it for the wicked paint, which is great. And I'm going to do regular paintbrush techniques as well, which is really cool. Okay, so I got the inconsistency. Well, there's just a little bit. So here's where, you know, you want to use every tool in your arsenal, right? Every weapon. So the only thing is you have to find that weapon, and I'm looking for my freehand shield. Now, would I have put it underneath there? I don't think I would, but let's see. It's not underneath here. Let's see. I mean, it's a really big freehand shield. I mean, where in the world could it have gone? Okay, not there. Not there. Did it fall in my drawer? No. That's interesting. Let's see. And that's a weird thing for me to not have, right? My freehand shield. Maybe it's underneath my tablet? No? Huh. You know, always know when it's time to clean my studio. This is definitely a key indicator. Let's see. Wow. Okay, might be over here. Yeah, without my freehand shield, I'm in trouble. Because I've been using that freehand shield forever. Oh, so while I'm looking for my freehand shield, here is the painting I did over the weekend. And you know, I did the online course of doing this painting of Gal Gadot, and that was really cool. So this is 5.5 hour class from beginning to end doing the portrait in airbrush, right? And just airbrush and India ink with white pastel, using the stencils which I send and everything. So that was, thank you, sir, I appreciate that. Dwayne says, glad his amount only, glad mine the only ones, Brad. Oh, let me see. Oh, Brad says his freehand shield often grows legs. And Ryan says, could always cut a quick paper one if you really have to, of course, and use my football method, right? I'm gonna go look for my freehand shield. I'll be right back, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. So this stuff only happens when I'm doing a live stream, right? Because I had it like right here the whole time. So I wanted to, so while I'm here and I don't have my freehand shield, I'm going to talk about my online class, if you guys don't mind. It's just a real quick little thing about it. I really had it with a lot of you in mind because of the price point. And let me see if I can pull this over. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to pull this up real quick, and let's see. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over, and it just be one moment here. Let's see. I'm going to go to share display, share window. Web browser, and here we'll paste in this address. Okay, so here is my online course that I just made of the Gal Gadot. And what's really cool is that just like before, you get all the stencils, you get the line drawing, you get the Airbrush India inks, and you get the acid, you get the paper with the line drawing, the Airbrush India inks, and I draw in the white mixture. And 5.5 hours this time. The other one was 3 hours. And you can see I go over everything. But what's really cool is what I'm offering this time is that it's only $99 as a one-time payment, but you can also break it up into 3 payments of $33, so anyone can afford that if you wanted to take the course. And it's really fantastic. I mean, I'm really happy with it. I worked really hard on it and didn't miss anything. So you're basically watching me from the very beginning to the end. And so like I said, it's really incredible. So that's all I have to say about that, but I wanted to share that with you because I'm excited about the class and I'm excited about that painting and sharing the techniques. A lot of techniques I don't share on the live streams. And look at this, I actually found, it was underneath my mouse pad, my freehand shield, so that's good. So what I'm going to do, if anyone's interested, you can always email me. I'm always happy to hear from you, whether you're interested in the class or not. And let's see. Now I'm going to go back to... so sorry, a little late, but I had... Okay, so here I'm just going to put in the class. And I'll pin it up here, the link. So if anyone's interested, it'll be pinned on the top for that class. Remember, $33, 3 payments of $33. You get full access after the first payment, money back guarantee, which I know you won't because you're going to learn so much from it. 5.5 hours from beginning to end, you know. Thank you so much, Dwayne. I appreciate that. And Ryan said, could always cut the paper. Yes, definitely. We did mention that. Wendy says, tornado warning, gotta go. Oh, take care, Wendy. Please be careful. I hope you have a basement. So that's cool. Back to the art. Now, we do have the freehand shield. And what I wanted to do is basically work on some techniques here. So underneath her neck are always a shadow. The face and the head casts a shadow on her neck. So we're going to work on that together. Let's see. There we go. Very lightly, right? And wipe off your freehand shield in between. So I got my first couple of students with it, and you know, people might say, like, why are you charging $99? Is it less? No, that it definitely isn't. I really feel that it's next level stuff, you know. But I wanted to be affordable for people who want to learn the technique, who want to raise the level of their portraits. So it's not less. 8 years of art school, technical information and everything. So much happening, you know. Oh, great. Dwayne says one of these days he'll have to take one of my portrait classes. And he says he's horrible at portraits of photos. I don't know. You're really talented. I'm sure you can do that. And Air Todd says he needs to get his button gear and finish his first online course. Oh, definitely. And this one will be a perfect one right behind it. That's for sure. And so that's cool. And again, so notice I'm going perpendicular and not parallel, right? Ah, thanks, Brad. That's a wonderful testimony. I appreciate that. I've been doing portraits since I was a little kid, you know. Definitely. There we go. So you see, I'm just kind of building up this edge work here and doing it more manually. And there's some really beautiful hard edges. So remember, you want to spray perpendicular and not parallel. That's the principle. The thing is, when you go parallel, you won't realize that you're going too far and you're going to cross. You're going to cross your edge where it's not supposed to be, and that's going to be bad. And Dwayne says he can paint, just not specific people. Yeah, no, that definitely has to happen, you know. That's for sure. And you know, but you can paint people, not specific people, meaning that you know the concept. You just, you know, just have to get into that whole, like, what makes that one person different, right? And that takes time and years, right, to really get good at portraiture, you know, as far as looking like a specific person, right, Dwayne? But yeah, I mean, you could, I know anything that you paint just looks amazing, because anything I seen you do was just blow me away. So Air Todd says, am I going to add anything to Patreon? Yes, I'm thinking of, I have some really cool things to add, and one of the things are some of the in-between of the last painting of Persephone that I didn't do during the live stream. So I might add that, and also a few other things. So definitely, Todd, thanks for reminding me. I'm going to work on that. Now I'm going to do the underplane. And now, you know, it's sort of like sketching at this point, right? We're sketching her. So that's pretty cool. Oh, so Dwayne says he paints from his mind, not pictures. See, that's amazing. I never was able to do that. I was like not somebody who could paint too much from his mind. You know, a lot of my friends went into comic books from art school, and I tried it, but I could never get into that mindset of making things up, you know? I mean, I can make up scenes like this and, you know, and then realize them by, you know, working out the compositions and everything, but I need reference material. That's my thing. I'm not going too dark because I don't want it to fight when I come in with the color. So I'm not going to put any tone in her face. Just where the deeper shadows lie. And what's really cool, that where her mental fat is and her mental protuberance, you know, that really gives her the kind of a personality or a character. One of the things that my teacher told me, Dwayne, that might help you is that when you're painting a person, Harvey told me that you need to exaggerate what makes them different, and when you exaggerate them, you find their character. So you exaggerate, almost like a caricature, and that stuck to my head, you know. And he also said that, Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Mike Rushing. So fantastic. Decatur, Georgia. And so Mike says, what compressor do you use? What compressor do I use? And PSI. Great question. So I have the Silent Air 50, and it's a small compressor, and I always set it at PSI 25, set it and forget it. When I'm working in the Createx line, especially the Wicked, I change it to 30. but I still adjust my airbrushes. I make sure all my airbrushes have these things, you know, because you have to adjust that. But 30 is usually a good rule of thumb. So some might say, okay, why not go to 40 or something like that? Because to me, you want to make your paint do what you want to do, as opposed to compensate for your paint. I'm the boss of the paint, right? So I'll decide, you know, so if I have to dilute that, I'll dilute that super, but I don't like working more than 30, because I feel at 30 I'm kind of losing control that I really love to have, right? And so thank you so much for that super chat. It really helps, Mike. It's always a pleasure to see you. And, you know, your contribution goes a long way in keeping this channel going and keeping me going. So I really appreciate you, Mike. And Decatur, Georgia, it's going to stick one of these days. I appreciate you, sir. And Brad says, Dwayne, where are you on Facebook? Dwayne says he's under his regular name, but nothing is on his Facebook page. He doesn't take a lot of pics. Tim has seen some stuff he sent me in email a while ago. Yeah, that was amazing. The spider you did with a trompe l'oeil, you know, really with the shadow, looks like the spider is actually walking on the surface. I thought that was wild, so I enjoyed that. Now sometimes when you're painting, you may feel a little stickiness, and it happens a lot less with my India inks, but it does happen. So what I do is I just loosen the chucking nut and twirl the needle, and then maybe give it like a nice blowout, and then tighten the needle, push the needle forward at least, and now I don't have that anymore. So that could be annoying when you're pulling and it gets stuck, and that's a normal thing. Oh, great question. Katie U. Ferreira says, am I using the Sotar Badger? No, but I am using my customized Extreme Patriot Arrow. So it's an Extreme Patriot Arrow, and I changed a whole bunch of stuff so it would give me more detail and easier access. But yeah, this is my go-to. I also use this one a lot, which is basically my customized Extreme Patriot 105. And that is, the 105 is great because I use that for, you know, larger areas because it has a larger cup. And then my third favorite is the Vega 1000 by Thayer and Chandler, I believe, or Omni. But really beautiful, also made by Badger. So really great. Oh, thanks for that, Brad. And yes, definitely, Dwayne, that's for sure. Dwayne says he's under, oh, okay, that's cool. That's fantastic. And yes, that's when I saw those pictures when you purchased the airbrush from me, and I appreciate that, sir. And Dwayne says his stuff is more sci-fi fantasy scapes, but realistic as anything, you know? Everything is just incredible. So, really great stuff. And I'm just sculpting. I do have something here. So with this here, I actually cut out, so I have this face only shield, and this is good because this will keep me from losing my edges and stuff like that. Little eyelash there, gotta get rid of the eyelash, okay. So one of the things I wanted to really talk about, and it's great that, you know, Dwayne says, you know, he paints a lot from his mind, and that's going outside your comfort zone. And that's what I'm doing here with this particular painting. I'm going outside my comfort zone, also painting something that, you know, a little bit different, go in my own direction, but pushing myself to do things differently. And so thanks for coming along on this journey with me, guys. I really appreciate it. And so I did cover her everything except for her face. Her face is uncovered, so but right here I did cut out the darks of her ears here. So I'm just going to put that in. There we go. Just wipe that. And that's cool because that will give me sort of an anchor point to kind of build off of. Right now, I'm just having trouble getting the parts bred. So, but once I do have the parts, because I do have one on back order right now, someone ordered it and I don't have the parts yet. Having a hard time getting a hold of Badger, but once I do and I have them in stock, I'll let you guys know. 80 people bought these airbrushes, only one person returned them, and it was just a personal reason. I went ahead and sold that returned airbrush that very day. So everyone loves these airbrushes, and as you can see, I use them both for Airbrush India ink and working with Createx and Golden. So they're great all-purpose airbrushes. You can get as detailed as you want, so definitely recommend mine, because when you buy it from me, when I do have them in stock, I test them out for 3 hours. I make sure that every valve is correct, there's nothing in here. I make sure the needle packing is good, all the seals. So getting it from me, you'll know that it's top of the line, you know, as far as quality assurance. I go overboard because I know what it's like to have an airbrush that is not working correctly. So I make sure that I have an airbrush that works perfectly when it leaves my studio, and hopefully it'll be perfect when it gets to you, you know. And for me, when it leaves my studio, it's perfect. But I pack it with bubble wrap so I don't have any kind of issues in transit, because I go crazy with the packing, you know. And Dwayne says, one reason I love Tim's work so much is the opposite from him, so I learn a lot from it. I appreciate that. Thank you. But I learned so much from you, Dwayne. That's the thing. So iron sharpens iron, right, Dwayne? So that's really cool. So do I prefer the Badger over the Micron? Good question, Mike. I know that the custom Micron, Mike, is an amazing airbrush, and you spend that money on that airbrush and you know where your money went. I'm not going to say it's not an amazing airbrush. It is. But you're spending that kind of money. This is a perfect alternative for it, because you spend a fraction of the money and you get the detail that you get from the Micron. But what I like about this is that it's hardy. So think of the Micron as like the, what is it, like the latest stealth fighter, right? That would be that. But think of this as the A10 Warthog. It's going to take a beating. If you drop it, there's not going to be any problems with this, except for the needle. The needles are very inexpensive, so that's main reasons why I like it over that. But yeah, definitely, if you have a Micron, God bless, those are great airbrushes. And let's see, Dwayne says, I really like the brush that he got from me, but to be honest, the first thing that he did was take it apart and put it back together. Definitely. Yeah, you know, you're like a very experienced, you're more experienced than me in airbrushing, Dwayne. So Dwayne knows that he has to make sure everything's okay, you know, before he starts. So someone at Dwayne's level is going to be like, okay, I'm going to take it apart, I'm going to make sure everything is sealed, that there's no air leaks and everything like that. So definitely know that. So I appreciate that. And that's why he's so great with this live stream, because he gives so much experience and knowledge. And he does that with every airbrush even the micron, of course. KDU says he doesn't understand much English. You ask if I modify airbrushes. Oh, so so you add, oh, so do you modify airbrushes as well, KDU? That's great. And did someone ask me if I modified airbrushes? Was that, I think someone else asked me if I modified airbrushes. Let's see. Or did I just say it without? Oh, no, they were talking about how it came up was KDU, that they were asking if I was selling my modified ones. So, so KT, but the airbrush and a grafo que tú tienes or tus favoritos. But yeah, in Portuguese and English are, and Portuguese and Spanish are close. And ¿qué tipo de aerógrafo que tú arreglar or modify? Okay, so I'm waiting for Mr. Ferreira's reply. Very cool, because there is a little delay. So I think when I say something and when you guys get it, I think it's like maybe like a 10-second delay or something like that. All right, so far so good. Maybe I'll start putting in some of the side plane shadow here. And when I'm doing a lighter value like here, I'm probably like 7 inches away, right? Which is important. When Badger gets back on track, he wants to try a medium nozzle with the with the needle. So right, so definitely. So with the Extreme Patriot Arrow, you can actually take out the nozzle and the needle and get the 0.5, and I believe there's a 0.7 as well, which is really great. And Mike says he uses a micron, but he has Badgers, Iwatas, Pachets, even master airbrushes. He wants that Badger that I'm using now. I should be an AA Airbrush Anonymous. So true. So when I have them in stock, I'll let you know, Mike. Definitely. It's a great airbrush, and as you could see, so the one I sent you, sir, is a 0.3, so you're actually going to go with the smaller length needle. Is that correct, sir? Because I know that the smallest it goes is the 0.3, which I sent with you. Oh, use the small needle with the medium nozzle. Oh wow, how cool, with the Sotar for inks. That's very interesting. I'd love to see that in real life, my friend. See, those are the innovations that happen when we are airbrushing, right? You know, for a long time, you start saying, let's try this, let's try that, and great things happen, right? And Air Todd says, what's needle size in the Extreme Patriot? The 0.3. So the 0.3 needle nozzle combination. But what makes this really interesting is I put a different needle in there, and I have more of a protrusion from the nozzle. That protrusion, if you think of aerodynamics, it will go around the needle longer. So as it gets smaller, as it's going around the needle, when it gets to the paper, it's going to be a much smaller. And I would actually say that this is probably, with this needle, the floating nozzle and the needle, gives me detail that I can get with the custom micron. It's really cool. Yes, 0.3 definitely. So yeah, so it's a real small one, Todd. No, it's pretty big, so that's why I love this airbrush as well, because I can use Wicked at 30 psi because it's a 0.3, so which is great, right? It really is. And so Dwayne says to make the needle extend out further for even finer details, but is a total killer on tip dry, so only good for inks. Right, so definitely how I combat that is I always dilute my paints a lot, and of course so here's how I kind of handle that, Dwayne. I dilute my paint so I can lower my PSI, and with that PSI I have less air going, so I have a little less tip dry, but also I'm always constantly picking at it, so but definitely. So that's why even the microns have even a harder time. But we always have to compensate, right guys? That's the thing. And, you know, we can make it work if we want it to work, you know, and whatever we feel more comfortable with, we're going to make it work. So that's basically the thing. So as you can see, today we are just doing the basics. I'm going to finish the underpainting. So and I'm going to shellac it, so when we come back next week, we are going to hit the ground running and go straight in with Createx. So that's exciting. So the time really flies, especially in part 1. And of course, what I'm doing now is just sketching with the airbrush. And that's another thing. I don't feel that the micron can sketch with the airbrush the way that I can do it with this, just because of me and, you know, how I modified it. For me, I like to sketch, right? So this is more of a sketching airbrush, because this is like working in pencil, right? So that's basically, you know, how I go about it. And let's see. Wayne says that's why he reduces so much. Yeah, wow, 70%. That's a lot, yes. And Air Todd says, what size of needle is in before you? It's not the needle that changes. I change the, so the needle is what comes with the airbrush. I bring in a different needle in there, and so with that needle gives me the ability to have that protrusion even more, right? So that's one of the things that I do when I modified it, because I was a micron user. I had the CMC Plus, I had the CMSB. So I had all of the custom microns. I was an Iwata guy. And then I met, you know, Mr. Ken over at Badger. And, you know, he showed me some of these airbrushes and wanted to know what he thinks of them, what I think of them. And then I just loved it. At first, the custom micron, I mean the 105, the Patriot Arrow, I hated it, but I saw something in it, so I stuck with it, and that's when I made the changes, you know, because it comes with that really big trigger. I got rid of that. So so there are a lot of things I didn't like the way it came out, and that's why I made changes for me. When I made those changes with me, I actually sold my custom microns. Now I wasn't unmotivated, I need the money, but I wasn't using them. So that's what happened. But the custom microns in Iwata, they're a great company, and their airbrushes are really amazing. So, you know, you have a custom micron, or even the Eclipse is a fantastic airbrush. I really love it. Even their Neo, I had a student, local student, in my studio, and he got the Neo, and that's all he could afford, and that thing kicked butt. But I have to say that that trigger broke without really anything happening. I think he dropped it like 2 inches, and that thing cracked. So it's a little flimsy in its construction. And Dwayne says, Air Todd says, what size needle? Okay. And oh yeah, the big high roller trigger, yeah, that didn't work for me either, Dwayne. That was just an interesting thing. So I wasn't crazy about that. That had to go, right, Dwayne? That's for sure. So I had to get rid of that. So as you can see, we're working on this, and let me see. I think that's going to be it. Maybe I'll just put in some of the shapes here of these figures. Just some of the dark shapes that I see. Some of they're wearing black shirts and stuff. But this is all very blurry in the background. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is a subject that I usually would do in oils quite effectively. So this is the first time doing something real in-depth background. So it's going to be a lot of fun going on that journey with you guys. Way too much movement required and just, yeah, so yeah, exactly. And the thing was, those high rolling triggers, they're uncontrollable. You just make a little mistake and it just sends so much material out of your airbrush, and I was like, no way, it's not worth it. And you know what, it was too much getting used to for me to actually justify it. So I got rid of that trigger immediately. That's the great thing about Badgers, is that the parts are all interchangeable within Badger. So I'm able to modify some things to make it, and you can do that with your own airbrushes, modify it to really work for, you know, for your own purposes. She has this strap on her dress. And this is a good time for the freehand shield. We don't have to do everything with the stencils, right? So this is more like a psychological painting, you know, someone kind of, you know, stuck on the subway, so to speak, you know. And it's kind of like how the living in a city can almost dehumanize you, right? And I know that from living in the city most of my life, and that's basically what it's about. Now, I paint somebody in the city because I know what it's like. I've been there, right? So that's why it's valid. Always paint your life, guys, you know, on your personal projects and stuff. Think of it as your diary, right? That's important. And Dwayne says he likes the super short triggers. He would even like a shorter trigger for my Badgers. Me too. I haven't found anyone to actually manufacture them. I guess we can do that ourselves if we knew how to do it. You probably do. I don't. So I darkened that there, and let's do this little dark pattern on her dress. So you see, I'm just sketching as if it was a pencil. And then I'm going to cover up her shoulder and just darken that up like so. And Rome's not built in a day. We take our time, right, guys? That's important. And same thing over on this side. Dwayne says, me either. I have thought about it more time. Yeah, you know, I just need someone who has an ultimate set of tools, like Sean Penn said in Fast Times at Ridgemont High when he destroyed Forrest Whitaker's car, and he says, "My dad has some awesome set of tools. We can fix it." And the car is it's completely totaled. That's so funny. What was his name? Nicole? But what was his first name? I don't know if you guys were big fans of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but that was like, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies, but it is so indicative to. Oh, Spicoli, that's right. TV repairman. That is so funny. Love that. Mr. Hand, right? Come on, you guys know about Mr. Hand. He thought everybody was on dope. And he was the guy that was in Marvin the Martian back in that show before our time, I think in the 50s, right? Jeff Spicoli, was it Jeff Spicoli? So many big actors were in there and actresses. I mean, I was a real kid when that came out. No, I was in junior high. So I was old enough, or maybe, yeah, I think I was like in 8th grade or 9th grade when that movie came out. But that was great. That was a fun movie. You know, being kind of a naive kid, I didn't understand half the stuff that was going on, but it was great. Dwayne says, growing up in California coast and being a surfer in high school, that movie was real popular. Oh, how cool. Yeah, Eric Schultz, right, was in there. Stoltz. Eric Stoltz was in it, right? And who's the other guy? The blonde guy. I forget his name. Edwards. He was in there. Forrest Whitaker. Just amazing, the amount of incredible talent, you know. It was just like it was a showcase of all these budding young stars. I'm going to use my freehand shield, and I'm going to cover up what I don't want to spray so I could spray only where I want to spray. So let's see, so right here. And, you know, having this, you know, so yeah, so you were in like that whole kind of California type of thing going on, right? And we're in New York, we don't do, oh, Phoebe Cates, she was amazing. Yeah, Phoebe Cates, that's for sure. Every teenage boy loved Phoebe Cates, right? Unbelievable. I think Phoebe Cates now had a clothing store on Madison Avenue, New York. I don't even think she acts anymore. But she was in that other movie, something, Said Fred or something like that. Drop Dead Fred. Yeah, Drop Dead Fred she was in. But yeah, she did a lot of good movies. I think she did, what, Gremlins or Ghoulies or something like that, one of those. So she was really big in the 80s. And you see how I darken where I want to darken. But then, you know when it's time to come in with the freehand shield, lose the freehand shield, and just draw it in with the airbrush. Always trust. You don't want to trust your eyes all the time, but you definitely do want to trust your eyes. In conjunction with using stencils and good line drawings and everything. Brad, take care. Have a great night, my friend. Always a pleasure. Hey, Camilo, how are you, sir? So fantastic. I was talking earlier, Camilo, about your airbrush. I'm just waiting on Badger. I was going to get back to you today. That's why I'm not taking any new orders, because I haven't heard from Badger. As soon as I do, I'll let you know. I'm writing them another letter, email tonight. So thank you for the opportunity to make an airbrush for you, Camilo. So that is great. And Camilo, you're from Australia, right, sir? So cool to see you. And so Brad has to drive the bus tomorrow. And yeah, so Dwayne says that the Fast Sign Ridgemont High was like high school, his high school. My high school was a little bit different, that's for sure. Growing up in New York City on the East Coast, everything's so different, you know? Yes, Badger did move their factory, their warehouse and factory, so that's kind of slowing things down. But I should get a hold of them tomorrow, so I can definitely get an ETA on that. So that's important. So good to see you, Camilo. If you have any questions, please let me know. Email me or message me on Instagram, okay? And I am sorry about the wait, sir. And I'm just continuing sketching, you know. So, oh, okay. Originally from Colombia. Viva Colombia! Que país? Or qual país? Yes. De donde es usted? So, I would say you're from Bogota, the capital. Let me see if that's correct. Wow, so life must be really different in Colombia as opposed to Australia, right? That must be a big culture shock for you. Now, I have a lot of Australian friends. I have a lot of Colombian friends. Both very cool people, right? Very cool people. So I think the people are nice, so that's a good thing. So you have that going for you. And what I'm going to do is come in and use the eraser as well, so that's going to be good. Oh, I got it right. All right. So Bogota, El Capital, very cool. And the thing about Bogota, it's really high up, like it's elevated in the mountains, so that's really cool. Oh, it is, but so you do love Australia, huh? So that's cool. Very cool. There's a lot of airbrush artists in coming up in Australia now. You have, you know, artists like Paul McDonald's incredible painter, airbrush artist. You have Daniel Powers, he's from Australia. Just, you know, a lot of really, really good, what is it, Andy Caddick? So Australia has a lot, and yourself, Camilo, a lot of really good airbrush artists are there. So that's really cool. So that's good. So airbrushing is alive and well in Australia. And we're just going to continue painting. I don't want to go too dark because what happens is if I go too dark, when I come in with the color, I have to fight that, and I have to do more layers to get it looking good, to get the looking vibrant. So I'm going to keep it on the light side. I learned my lesson. So let's see. But I am going to start, you know, like I said, always sculpting things out. Oh, so Dwayne says he heard a good thing about the Trident paint, and from a friend. I heard good things about Trident paint as well. You know, definitely. Yeah, they have a whole line, and I think they're very in-depth about it, which is really wild. So, I mean, they're really scientific about it, which is great. So that's good. So it's great that, you know, different companies are coming on board, right? So that's really important. And then right here we have a little bit of dark. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing. So right here I have just some nice pencil lines. So working with the Airbrush India inks, when you go over this, right, I can erase those pencil lines even after I go over it with the Airbrush India inks. If I was going to do that with any kind of acrylic, I would have a much more difficult time getting rid of those pencil lines. But as it is now, I can get rid of them really well. Oh, your friend's in New Zealand and loves Trident paints. Very cool. Wow. Yeah, so they seem to have a very good company, and good fundamentals. You know, just work on the product, be as scientific as and you know, as Createx is. You know, I'm just in love with their paints, and especially their Wicked line, I have to say. I do like their illustration line, don't get me wrong, but I just love how the Wicked paint feels more like fine art to me, you know? It kind of behaves more like oils to me. Now, I always go over the muscles, right? So right here you have the depressa anguli oris, which comes down from the corner of the mouth and kind of gives that kind of our ability to frown, which is important. That little shadow there. That little shadow there. Let's see, so I'll zoom out. Okay. So I'm going to make a couple of more stencils during the week and kind of work on some other areas. But right now, as far as finishing out before 12, I'm just going to do some sketching. And like I said, I have to really guard against going too dark. And of course, I'm not doing detail like individual eyebrows or eyelashes, I should say, or eyebrow hairs. Keeping everything pretty light as much as possible. And using the detail mixture, which is diluted, forces me to be white, you know? Forces me to be light, not white. I am white. There's nothing I can do about that. But it forces me to be light, you know? Uh, let's see. Okay, guys, I'm gonna finish up. I'll just be right back, and some closing thoughts and everything. Hold your conversations. Be right back. Okay, thanks for waiting, guys. I appreciate it. And so now what I'm going to do is, yes, so, you know, going back to Createx and Wicked, Dwayne talked a lot about them, and also Steve Leahy was working with them, and, you know, Scott McKay, and, you know, and hearing the great things from Mr. Dwayne, I really wanted to give them a shot, and I have to say they exceeded my expectations. Definitely exceeded my expectations. So that was great. And so now, even now, you know, I'm relatively new to Wicked, but Dwayne has been helping a lot. So has Steve and Scott McKay, and you know, so it's great. You guys kind of took me under your wing with that, so I appreciate that a lot. You know, really do. And so now we could use a semi-aggressive, well, first we'll try with a least aggressive eraser and kind of work out some of the negative spaces at this point because it's dry. So you never want to erase when it's wet, right? You always want to make sure it's dry, because when you wet the paper, the uh, the fibers kind of loosen up. So when you erase that, you're going to cause just tearing, and you'll damage the paper for good. There's nothing we can do to fix it at that point. So we want to use the least aggressive eraser possible, and also wait till it's dry. So you can see I'm getting rid of some pencil lines as I'm going. Remember, pencil lines are training wheels, right? So you want to get rid of them, but you don't want to get rid of them too early. You know, if you have a kid and they're learning how to ride the bike and they don't have their balance, you take the training wheels off, they're going to crash into a mailbox. So we don't want that. No crashing in the mailbox, right? So we definitely don't want that to happen. And and of course, you know, I don't worry about likenesses in the beginning. It's basically just looking at the large shapes, getting the large shapes down, and then going from there, right? So that's basically the whole thing. Same thing here. I'm just going to get rid of the pencil line. They serve their purpose. And same thing here. Just get rid of that pencil line. I could use a more aggressive eraser, but you always use the least aggressive eraser that will do the job, right? That's always so important. So the least aggressive eraser is always very, very important. So we'll just continue. And erase as we go, right? That's so important, to erase as we go. Same thing up here. We can kind of work out some of the lights a little bit that are in her lip here. And sometimes the pencil line will just not serve you anymore, and that's when you get rid of that. And it's a lot of fun because now I can start coming in with color soon, very soon. But there are places where a little more of an aggressive eraser works better. So right here, I'll show you. I'll zoom right in, and you'll notice that I went too dark too early. Too dark too early, too bad, right? But with experience, you learn how to bring it back. So this is her helix right here on her ear. So I wanted to indicate that here, right here is the indication of an anti-helix coming over like this. And then here is the tragus and the anti-tragus right over here. And let me make sure I got that right. So that is, so this side right here on the inside is the tragus, and this on the outside is the anti-tragus, just to make sure. Yes. So it's important for me to know the anatomy and the names, because that helps me to look for those features, and also if I see anything that's off with my drawing or painting, I can definitely look at the anatomy and say, okay, there's no anti-tragus, so I put in the anti-tragus right over here. Here's the tragus, and then of course you have the helix, and then the anti-helix, and then the helix coming over like that. So knowing the anatomy will really save you if you make any mistakes. And also with the Airbrush India inks at this stage, they erase really well, but just be very careful not to damage the paper, because we still have a lot of layers of paint to go. So that's so important. So I'm just going to paint until 12, and but I think we're doing pretty good. So you can see how I use the stencils to kind of map things out, and so that's good to kind of work on the edges. And so right here we have our clavicle, so I could kind of begin that clavicle right here, one clavicle here. We are symmetrical, so if you have a clavicle on the right side, you have a symmetrical clavicle on the left side. And of course here is our tracheal area, and then we have our sternocleidomastoid, which connects to, so the interesting thing about the sternocleidomastoid, so part of this sternocleidomastoid attaches to the sternum, and then another part attaches to the clavicle, and then there's a mastoid process behind her ear. So a lot of times in anatomy, the name will actually tell you what it does, where it attaches, that sort of thing. So for me as a portrait painter and a figure painter, I like to know the names. That helps me, and helps me to be a better painter. Take care, Mr. Todd. Have a great night. Always a pleasure. Glad your mouth's feeling better. And if you have any questions, always feel free to email me. Always glad to hear from you, Mr. Todd. And don't work too hard over there in San Diego. Again, I don't want to go too dark. I see that this area is darker, but I'm just setting up. That's what the whole idea of this. It's not a typical underpainting. It's a very loosely done underpainting. Just give us an idea of the large shapes, so when we come in with the Createx Wicked line, we don't have to worry about where things go, right? So that's the main thing. Now I do have this line, if you see this hair coming down, but I'm gonna wait on that because if I go too early, I just want to get the tone. I can always go over that after I get the skin, you know, the sterno, well, not the sterno, but the zygomatic bone and the masseter and all of the nasal bones and everything. Get all that done and painted, and then do individual hairs. I don't want to paint around the hairs, right? And so that's very important. Okay, guys, it's 12:01. Thank you so much for hanging out. Sorry I started a little bit late at 10 o'clock. But I did give the 2 full hours, so that was good, right, Dwayne? So I did end up giving the 2 full hours. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Dwayne, for the super chat. I really appreciate you. Thanks, Camilo. Great to see you. Mike Rushing. So Dwayne, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Mike Rushing, for the super chat. And thank you so much to oh yeah, Mike Rushing, Dwayne, and oh, Mike Rushing gave 2 super chats. Mike, thank you so much. That was so cool. So we have Dwayne with the great super chat, and 2 from Mike Rushing. So cool, from Decatur, Georgia. Guys, have a great week. Thank you for spending your Wednesday with me. I really appreciate it. This is going to be a lot of fun. I really wanted to share it with you rather than do it, you know, offline. So I'm growing as an artist, and I want you guys to come along with me on this journey, you know. So thank you, everybody, for being the coolest. And thank you so much, Dwayne. Great time. And you have a great week, too. Take care, everybody. Let me see. Where is this button? I'm going to hit this button.